The voice started as helpful advice, nothing more than a suggesting I take the earlier train, or warning me about the coffee that tasted slightly off. Small mercies from somewhere deep in my mind. I should have questioned it from the beginning. But when you're living alone in a city that doesn't know your name, any companion feels like a gift, even one that exists only in the space between your thoughts and the silence that follows. The voice had a texture to it, not quite male, not quite female, like someone speaking through water, or from the other side of a thick wall. It knew things I didn't know I knew. Street names I'd never walked down. The middle names of co-workers I'd never asked about. "Don't take the elevator today," it said one Tuesday morning, as I stood in my apartment lobby, watching the brass arrow climb from floor to floor. The words formed in my head with the same certainty as my own thoughts, but they carried a weight that felt foreign. I took the stairs, all 14 flights. By the time I reached my office, the elevator had been shut down for repairs. Cables snapped between the 8th and 9th floors. They said it was just a precaution, but I saw the maintenance worker's face when he emerged from the shaft. Saw the way his hands shook as he radioed for backup. The voice grew stronger after that, more insistent. It began offering commentary on my daily routines, suggesting alternate routes to work, different lunch spots, even which checkout line to choose at the grocery store. Always with perfect reasoning, always correct. "The woman in line 3 has exact change," it would say. "The man in line 1 is going to argue about expired coupons." And sure enough, I'd watch the scenarios unfold exactly as predicted. But prediction implies knowledge of future events, and knowledge implies observation, and observation implies... I started testing it. Small experiments at first. I'd ask silent questions and wait for responses. The voice obliged, though sometimes with reluctance I could feel rather than hear. What's in my left jacket pocket, I thought. The receipt from the bookstore. The pen that doesn't work anymore. 3 quarters and a dime. I checked. Exact change, down to the last cent. How do you know this? The silence that followed felt different, deliberate, like someone choosing their words carefully. I pay attention to things you forget to notice. That's when I realized the voice had been watching me. Not just advising, but observing, recording, learning. Every moment of my day was being processed by something that lived in the spaces between my conscious thoughts. I began to wonder who was really making my decisions. When I chose the earlier train, was that my choice, or had the voice simply suggested it? So naturally that I'd internalized the decision as my own. When I avoided the broken elevator, was I exercising caution, or following commands I was too distracted to recognize? As external, the voice started speaking even when I wasn't listening. During meetings, it would comment on my colleagues' body language. During phone calls, it would predict what the other person would say next. During quiet evenings at home, it would describe what I was doing in real time, as if narrating my life for an unseen audience. Now he's reaching for the remote. Now he's changing channels. Now he's wondering why he feels like he's being described instead of living. That last part stopped me cold. The voice had never acknowledged its own existence so directly before. "What are you?" I asked aloud to my empty apartment. I'm the part of you that sees what you're not ready to see, that knows what you're not ready to know. But the voice was wrong about one thing. I was ready to know. I was ready to see. I started paying attention to the moments between the voice's words, the spaces where my own thoughts should have been, and in those spaces I found something that made my skin crawl with recognition. The voice wasn't separate from me. It was me. A version of myself that had learned to observe from outside, to predict and analyze and comment as if watching a stranger live my life. I had split myself in two without realizing it, creating an internal narrator who knew me better than I knew myself, because it was me, just displaced. The worst part wasn't the discovery itself. It was realizing that this other version of me, this observer, this advisor, this voice that had seemed so helpful, had been making increasingly more decisions. I was becoming a passenger in my own life, following the guidance of a part of myself that had somehow gained autonomy. And now that I knew I couldn't unknow, every thought felt suspect, every decision felt influenced, every moment of silence felt like negotiation between versions of myself I wasn't sure I could distinguish anymore. The voice speaks less now, maybe because I'm listening more carefully to the difference between its thoughts and mine. Maybe because it knows I know. Or maybe because the distinction was never as clear as I needed it to be. Sometimes, in the quiet hours before dawn, I wonder if everyone carries their own observer, their own internal advisor, their own voice that knows just a little too much to be comfortable. And sometimes I wonder if those voices talk to each other when we're not paying attention. If you're wondering what's real, maybe you should sign up for the channel's newsletter for new stories.